Okay, we're gonna give this a shot. Well, I am Nancy Marks, as you know, and I am a Family Promise Coordinator and on the advisory team. And I don't know, a year or so ago, I started talking about how concerned I was that I was seeing some families coming back through the housing center more than once. And so I know that in the big picture of things for Family Promise, there's there's prevention and diversion and shelter, and then there's something called stabilization. So this is part of the whole big picture of Family Promise. And so we formed a little team and we reached out to Stacy Pollard from National and asked her for some models. And so she shared several models, which is the beauty of being part of Family Promise, I think,
That's
is
true.
that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can be we can, oops, now I lost my thing here. Anyway, we can just do that. You know, we can tap on the resources that are out there. So it's been kind of fortuitous as we've been doing this over the last couple months. We found this program, and then Stacy told us that there's some good news about it is that there's possible funding that could be coming up here in the early January. So but the only thing that Family Promise was going to fund would be this journey program. So, but we liked it anyway, so that wasn't a problem. So anyway, where we are is um, we've looked at this and trying to figure out what I'm seeing here. Okay, so it comes from West Michigan, and we actually met with Lisa Cruden, this person that helped put it together. It's based on a couple of research-based programs, and they've been doing it since I think 2020, well, 2020 maybe, 2021. Not very long, but long enough that they've made lots of tweaks. It's research-based, which I appreciated, and it's based on they're evidence-based. It's based on the strengths of the family to increase their access to support to the community. And then it also provides support for young children in their emotional, physical, and behavioral successes. So it's really the whole family that we're talking about here. And it has a timeline that goes, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And it starts when families move into housing after they've been in a housing crisis. It has uh, 3 phases, so it's more intense. It's more intense the beginning in phase 1, the first 4 months, and it's a year-long program. And so it's more intense the first 3 months, 4 months, and then it's a little less intense. And then the whole idea is that you build self-sufficiency. And so then they have access to the resources that they need. So you start out with pretty regular meetings and then a little fewer meetings. And then, then toward the end, it's only 1 or 2 contacts, but they have some really nice tools to build it. Okay. I love this comment. We want to love them from their homes. And so the key to this program is a coach, and it's someone who works alongside them and supports them from the sidelines. So it's somebody that works with them. Family coaching, you're connected with the coach, they work together, they build a relationship, they walk together for that whole year. Now, in West Michigan, they have case managers, or they call them case managers or coaches, and they stay there with them for a year, and they can case manage up to 30 families, which I thought was quite a lot, but
Wow, yeah.
they're able to do that. One of the beauties is what they call a path to success assessment. So once they've started in the program, it's all voluntary. So once they've started in the program, the coach meets with them and they fill out this path to success, and it helps them with setting goals. So you're really working right alongside that family to set goals that are important to that family. And there's 5 pillars. So it's not just looking at housing, but it's kind of looking at holistically, looking at the whole family. And then it's coaching with goals. So you're trying to, they have goals that they're working on, the family is working on, and they work on those with that coach. This is a little hard to see, but you can see that there are, is everybody seeing the, like 5 pillars? Are you seeing that? There we go.
There.
Yeah, I didn't think it was showing up. So there's 5 pillars. So there's housing stability, engagement and support, finances, education, and income. So they fill this one out, and each of these items are based on a 1 to 10. Each box is given a numerical value. So you can see in the housing stability, it says that they don't have any, you know, they're not having any barriers there. But then it goes 10, 8, you know, so it goes all the way down to 1. So you basically kind of score themselves. So I should say too that I don't know everything about this. And I'm sharing what I think I know. So some of this might not be exactly right. So I'm sure we're going to learn more, but I think I can give you kind of an overview of it. So finances, so if you look at the it's like a rubric, and they say, okay, well, here's where I am in this area, and here's where I am in this area, and they would kind of take those, each of those areas, and decide where they were. And then from that, they decide what it is they want to work on. So it's their decision. They say, okay, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And what do you want to work on? So the coach has a process that walks them through that. And then it looks different in for every person's life. So maybe sometimes, you know, maybe they're employed, but they can't do a budget very well. So then those are some areas. And it's a lot, as I understand it, a lot about connecting them to resources in the community. So down the road, they run into a blip somewhere, they've got some resources to connect with. They also have the same kind of a path to adolescence, looking at children. So there's one for 0 to 4 years old, and so they're also working with the family with their children and saying, okay, where is your child right here, and you know where do you want them to be, and then what, you know, how can we find some resources for you to get where they want to be. So they have it all the way up to 18 years old. So that is a pretty cool thing. So you're looking at the whole family, and you could help them make some decisions. Like, this is where you should be. If you were totally successful, this is what it would look like. So they are given a chance, I like this, to celebrate their child's growth and success while also focusing on areas of need. So the coach sits down with the family, and then they also have what's called, they set up short-term goals and long-term goals. So where do they want to go? They have an action step. I think that's the next slide. Yeah. So they write out what their goal is for this next month, and then they're going to say, okay, this is what we want to do. So they say, okay, here's my action step. And then they also look at long-term goals. So, you know, maybe they want to get their GED, or they want to reduce child's behavior, or they want to save $1,000, or they want to buy a house. So think about those long-term goals, and then how do they get to that? So they have, you know, short-term, you know, a 9-month goal, and then maybe they're going to have a 2-year goal. of things that they're looking at. So it's goal setting, it's that individual time to do that. Another piece of it is they have what's called ambition bucks, and these are incentives for them to meet their goals. So what they have a report at the end of every month, then the coach sends an ambition report of their goals progress, and they get a ambition bucks. And then those ambition bucks could look like, okay, they're setting a goal, they're meeting with their coach, they get 5 ambition bucks, and they've turned in their pay stubs, their rents, their utility, that get maybe be 10 ambition bucks. Maybe they complete a goal, that's 15. So there's ambition bucks, and then they can use these ambition bucks to buy cleaning supplies or kitchen supplies, or clothing, or they want diapers, or they need to get gas cards or gift cards or some of those kinds of things. So they're using those ambition bucks, they're getting reinforced, I guess, and they're getting, they have some motivation to do it. So this kind of tells us one of the things, as an aside, one of the things we keep thinking about is how we might do what we're doing with our welcome basket. We have some of these supplies and these things already on board. Maybe we can blend those in to help families this way as well. They track their family's progress every month with that report, and they're just, it's working with them to be encouraging and help them along the way. It's totally voluntary. It's up to them to get the most out of what they want. They have to attend their meetings. They have to, be real. I said, if they're overwhelmed, then tell them that. There are home visits, and they really recommend that the coach goes and at least sees what the home looks like and how are they doing. And we had some concerns about how that works, but they do provide training on how do you do that? How do you know when it's a good time to leave as well? So there's some training that comes along with this program as well. There's an agreement. So these are the keys to the agreement. These are the interesting things. I started looking through the information because I was wondering, well, if you're in the housing center and you're going to sit down with the coach would sit down with the case manager from the housing center and say, okay, we have this program available. Are you interested in it? And they have some keys, some things that they're expected to do in order to be a part of the journey program. And they're expected to have a coach, they're expected to complete the path to success, to set goals, to make some community connections. And then the ambition bucks are there, for reinforcement to earn. And then they're also working with the children. So they're getting some some support with the kids as well. And then there's expectations, and they actually talk about, okay, why would your case be closed? I did notice in some of the information, they actually have an agreement form that says, okay, I agree, this is what I agree to do. So you've got they have put a lot of resources. There's a huge folder of tools and things to do, and they provide some initial training, and then like I don't remember what she said, like 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So along the way, there's training as you go along to learn it, to figure it out.
Who does the training, Nancy?
Somebody from the National Family Promise. Probably, from what I could tell, I think it would probably be the Lisa or somebody from that program who developed it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like in that meeting, is that it would be her.
Yeah. And it's not like, I think what's kind of cool is it's not like a one-time training, like you're gonna, have a 2-day training to do this, but it's like, okay, we're gonna get you started, and then in a couple of weeks, we're gonna meet with you again, and we'll give you a little bit more, and, you can bring your questions, and it's kind of an ongoing thing. Um,
Thanks. Yeah.
yeah, I think they've really done a lot of thinking about it. There are, what did they say, TPJ 10 affiliates that are in the process of doing it right now.
It was
Um,
either 10 or 12.
yeah,
I think there are 10 doing it, and there might be funding for 12 to be
yeah,
doing it.
something like that. Yeah,
Something along those lines.
yeah. But I think they've done a ton uh of research on this. Let's see. Um, and then they also talk about sometimes the program isn't uh, appropriate, and there's reasons why it might be closed. So there's accountability built into this. Uh,
Oh,
Missed meetings, lack of communication, not working on their goals, not following the program, safety concerns. So, I think they have, you know, they've had some experience, so they kind of know what those things look like. Um, Boy, there's a lot of words on this one, but this is, I think what's important here is that families have a desire that they want to do it, and they're also have a reason to do it. Part of what I wondered about we haven't really had a chance to debrief on it as a group, as a team, but some questions I, wondered about was how could we, how do you explain it to a family, which I'm sure that's part of the training, and then how do you, I like the warm transfer idea. So the case manager from the housing center introduces the family to the new case manager, and they kind of bridge the gap, and then they move on to the new case manager. We did have some questions. Somebody asked about, well, could it start while they're still in housing? And she said that she didn't really feel like that would work. Maybe they did try it at one point, but it didn't really work very well, because when they're in the shelter, they're still in, families are very much in a crisis mode. And so they really need to be in their housing, and in order to be willing to like look at all of the different areas. So I do like that. And then that whole piece of being honest, and working together is really important. So, family tips for success. I love the idea that there's goal setting in there, and that they have a coach, they have somebody to help them. Um, so I guess our next steps, I guess the things that I am excited about it are that, uh, there's lots of resources out there. There's ways, it's got lots of tools, there's training, and maybe there's some funding. I think the biggest issue, of course, is we'd have to have funding in order to hire the coach. And she also talked about having some funding for each family, to help them along, more probably in the beginning, and then less, as they went along. So I think funding is going to be a big, we don't have the money to do that right now. So, but the exciting part, I think, is that we have a model. Are there questions or comments?
So how is it different from Han?
It stays with the family. It works with the family after they're housed, and
Oh, so I don't know much about Han. It starts while they're still in the center.
yeah. Well, the purpose behind the housing advocate is really to help people find housing, but
Mm.
their services pretty much end, after they find housing.
Well, I know that Joe
Not
and
in
Jane,
all cases, not in
no,
all.
I know Joe and Jane don't.
No,
Okay,
there are some people that don't, but in most cases, that's what it is.
okay.
But
that would-
I would say for those people, this program would be perfect. You know, that's what I think, you know, Jane's kind of trying to do. But here's a lot more resources and how to support it
I hear you. It sounds like it's pretty well thought out.
very well.
Nancy, of the 10 to 12 that are already in this has that been going on for quite a while or?
No, well, the one in West Michigan who started it, she said they started it in, was it 2022? Was that when it was, or 2020? It was,
I think it was in
COVID, wasn't it?
2020.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was in COVID.
Um,
So
yeah,
now-
and so they pioneered the thing, and then now they created the model for it, and there are more who have been doing it for 2 years or so.
Yeah.
They give you.
Most of them are
sense of-
brand new.
Did they give you a sense of how many? I mean, if anybody, you had to set goals and keep your goals and that sort of thing, or they were dropped, was there many people that were actually dropped from the program, do you know?
I don't think we asked that question.
Curious.
Yeah.
Great, it sounds great to me.
Me too. It seems like they've thought of everything. And
Yeah.
now that it's a developed program for us, it'd be easy for us to pick up on.
Yeah. I think one thing that maybe I still have an interest in is how do we involve volunteers? We talked about that too. Well, you know, how can you involve volunteers? And she had some ideas about that too. So, you know, I think that making that connection somehow, I still go back to that building relationships and how can we do that?
So
Okay, so I think I missed that step here then. So the coach is actually a paid position.
It is a paid position.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Usually a social worker it's usually a social worker.
And that one person does those 30 visitations.
Yeah. Isn't that
Oh,
fun? Look, but remember, they're starting
That's
out
true.
pretty intense to begin with. And then, you know, as they go through, then they're less
Less
tough.
and less.
So,
Would it fit with the Journeys program if the coach was actually, I'm thinking about continuity. So you get a case manager when you're at the housing center, and then hopefully you have a hand representative. What if the staffing increase occurred at that level, and then the case manager could follow the person into the Journeys program?
she actually talked about that, and what she said was they tried that. That's what they started out with. And what happens is, she said, when you're in the housing center, it's very crisis oriented. And so what would happen was the case manager is in the housing center and they're supposed to go meet with this family and there would be a crisis and they wouldn't be able to. So she really recommended that that it be a separate person, that's that coach. I kind of wonder, I guess I'm thinking what you said, Jan, or Jane, about, you know, is if they had a housing advocate and the housing advocate was willing to stay with them, you know, and, you know, if we could build that kind of a relationship in there too, that would, I don't know. There's lots of questions.
So would the intent be to apply for the grant to get it started or?
Well, I think so, don't you, PJ? I think that's, I mean, we're,
Yes, it's not so we don't actually have to apply for it. Since we are a part of Family Promise and it's a grant given out by Family Promise, we're like automatically next in line if they're giving that funding, from what I understand. So there's not an application process. This is just one of the benefits of being a Family Promise affiliate,
but you do
was
have,
my understanding of it.
yeah, but you do have to agree to do all the things that they want
Right.
to do.
Right.
Which is, yeah.
And the grant would cover 1 year?
I don't
Or-
know that answer. I would think so, but I don't know. I mean, we have a meeting coming up the first week of December, and so we were invited to that. So we're gonna know a lot more after that.
Yeah, I don't think they mentioned how much the grant would be for.
Mm-mm,
So
mm-mm. Lots of questions, right? And,
Mhm.
but I guess I really believe that if you have a plan, a vision of where you want to go, then, then you can start looking, you can say, this is where we want to go, and then you can start looking for the funding, and hopefully the funding
Mhm.
will follow that. So, I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that we've got something that's research-based, it's been implemented, it's been used, I think that would look really good to a grant funder down the road,
Yeah.
so we just have to hope there's grants. Okay, any other questions? Then we can get on with our regular meeting.
Well, oh, so Nancy, I have a question. So
Sure.
I'm sure we want to start this sometime next year. Is there any kind of timeline, like after the first of the year, or
No,
just go for it, right?
well, no, I think we have to find out. I mean, I think we have to do some planning. It's kind of like when we
Yeah.
put the food program in place, right? You don't want to start something if you don't have the planning in place. So, I think there's lots of those little pieces that we got to figure out. And then, yeah, and how the funding fits and yeah, all of that. But
Right.
we're not, I mean, we just started talking about this maybe 6 months ago. So
Mhm,
I think we're pretty far right here. Just the fact that we have something that we want to do. It's just got to put all those pieces together.
mhm.